Hi, my name is Jackie. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 8. I play hard because that's how I do everything. I always push myself to be the best that I can be. Type 1 diabetes does not stop me from doing the things that I like to do. Hello and welcome to Teen 1D, the podcast for teenagers and young adults living with type 1 diabetes. The podcast is not intended as a substitute for professional medicine advice or treatment. Hi, my guest for today is Casey Raymond. Can I have you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Casey. I'm a type 1 diabetic who is currently pursuing their private pilot's license.
So, Casey, how old are you and where are you from?
I am 17 years old right now, just turned 17, and I'm from South Paris, Maine.
Are you in high school right now, or are you doing something else for education-wise?
I'm enrolled in my local high school, and I'm also dual enrolled in a couple of programs through the various University of Maine systems.
Yeah. Are you in person right now, or are you still online?
Kind of a mixture. My high school is actually fully in person, but my online classes through the university, obviously I can't drive to the university to take the classes, so those are online. So
Yeah.
mixture of both.
So how old were you when you were diagnosed with type 1?
I was 15, and it was right at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. So March 31st, 2020.
Wow. So how do you take care of your type 1? Do you use shots, a Dexcom, a pump, or a closed loop system?
Right now, I'm currently on a tandem T-Slim insulin pump and a Dexcom. And, I have meters that I use if my monitor fails or something, but I keep insulin pens in reserve.
Yeah. So I understand that you're a pilot. How did this whole thing start for you?
I was never one of those kids who knew exactly what I was going to do. I was kind of indecisive, I could never really find anything that held the really joy that I wanted in a career. I didn't, just want to do any old random thing. I wanted to have fun doing it. And, I was never really satisfied with any of the career paths that I saw until I was invited to a random workshop. I don't even know how I got invited, but it was for girls in flight training. And the guy started talking about people, my age that were flying. And, it kind of opened my eyes. And I just was like, this is something that I think sounds really, really cool. So I did some research. I found my current flight school, and they offer introductory flights. So I took one of those. And once I did that, I knew I didn't want to do anything else. So I enrolled in flight lessons, and here I am.
That's so cool. So how far do you live from the flight school where you started, and do you still go there now?
So I started at the University of Maine. The flight school is called Maine Instrument Flight, and I still go there now. It's in Augusta. It's about an hour and maybe 15 minutes away from where I live.
What is your favorite part about flying?
It's really a mixture of things. I think part of it is the feeling of being, up in the air and of the freedom, and also in a way just the challenge. Flying is not an easy thing to do, and I'm the type of person who loves to improve at things. So naturally, when I was shown something that I, one, loved, and two, there was a challenge involved in getting to where I am now. And, I was immediately drawn to that type of challenge.
Yeah. So after you were diagnosed, what happened with your relationship with being a pilot then?
After I was diagnosed, it didn't really affect me flying because I didn't know I needed a medical certificate until I went to go solo. And then they told me, yeah, you need this. And I was like, oh, I didn't get one because they never had actually approved, because when I went to go get it, of course, diabetes came up and that type of stuff. But, I continued flying normally for, I think it was until August. And then, I had to take a break because I didn't have a medical, and I was at the point of my training where I needed a medical. And once that 4-month break was up, I went right back into flying.
What did the FFA require that you needed to give them for a medical certificate? How would someone go about getting that? Sorry.
It's kind of a weird process. So the FAA has two ways you can send stuff in. You can either send it by mail or you can send it by email. And for me specifically, So I went to that exam, I got denied, and then they sent me basically this huge list of stuff they wanted. And that list included a cardiologist appointment, endocrinologist appointments, ophthalmologist appointments, a lot of data, spreadsheets. I had to create spreadsheets of my blood sugars during my flying and, CGM data, insulin pump data, a lot of things. But basically, you have to send proof of all that and you send it to them and basically write a letter saying, hey, here's, everything that you asked for. And then, they either consider and say, okay, yeah, or they send you back another list of stuff they want. And that went on for about 4 months because I send stuff in, they want more stuff. I'd send that stuff in, they want more. But, it's kind of something that.
And so once you have the medical certificate, are you free to fly solo after that?
Yes. So what I got was a 6-month restricted license, and it's third class, which had actually expired last. I sent my consideration in, but the FAA is notoriously slow, so I'm just waiting for that now. But I did solo while I had it, and I did a total of 4 solos. And right now I have to do a cross-country solo, which, I need my medical back. And there shouldn't be any reason why they don't give it to me. But, it's just waiting for the letter back saying that I have it.
Yeah. So with the pandemic, was anything around training or just being able to fly made more difficult?
Flight lessons are very prone to getting canceled in general. And COVID was just another reason why I would cancel. There's weather, there's instructor availability, and there was an instructor got exposed to COVID. I got exposed to COVID once at my school. I didn't naturally contract it, but even the exposure, I had to stop lessons for, I think it was 2 weeks. And then, weather can be fun to deal with. And yeah, there was a lot of mask wearing, and also there's, obviously you have to talk on the radio. It's very hard to hear yourself with a mask on.
So I, for one, do not know very much about being a pilot and flying in general. So will you have to apply to get your pilot's license, or is that something that you don't need to do? I don't know how the whole situation works.
So you have to apply to get a medical certificate, which is what I've been doing, and you have to send in stuff. A license, so specifically I'm going for my private pilot's license. So to get that, there's a multitude of requirements you have to meet. You have to have so many flight hours. You have to pass a knowledge test, which I already did. And you have to have a certain number of solo hours. You have to have a certain number of cross-country hours. You have to pass an oral quiz, and you also have to pass a flight check ride. And once you pass all those, then you can get your private pilot's license.
Okay. And so one thing that I do know is that the FAA has now approved pilots who do have type 1 to be commercial pilots. Do you have any interest in that, or being one of those in the future?
I think it's, a huge step that we've actually been allowed to do this. And I would definitely take the opportunity if it presented itself. But, also commercial flying isn't the only thing that's been opened up to type 1 diabetics now, because being a pilot has so many different, career choices. There's aerial firefighting, there's flying, supplies to third world countries, there's corporate aviation, there's chartering, there's cargo, there's commercial, obviously. So there's a lot of different opportunities, and I'm kind of just keeping myself open to, what I decide I want to do. Obviously I've decided that I want to be a pilot, but there's a lot of different choices that, you can go for.
Do you have any advice for people who are looking to become pilots, or people who have been newly diagnosed with type 1?
For being newly diagnosed with type 1, it is a chronic disease. You're going to live with it for the rest of your life. And my best advice is to not ignore it, because it can be dangerous, but it doesn't have to be. It may be hard at times to deal with, or feel like, your body's just trying to, confine you to your bed. But just because you have this doesn't mean that you can't do anything that someone else could do. Diabetes shouldn't stop you from doing anything. It might make it harder, but it's not going to stop you. And in terms of flying, it's possible. I warn you, it's not easy. There's going to be ups and downs, as there is with everything. And, it's my hope that at least my story can prove to someone that, it is possible. And by keeping myself healthy to the degree that, everyone else does, that I can, serve as a pilot just as well as anyone else.
Yes. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just leave you with these final 2 questions. What do you like to do when you're not flying or in school?
I think one of my favorite things is I like to read a lot. I'm a library assistant at my school, so a lot of the times if you're trying to find me, I'll just be at the front desk with a book in my hands.
Yeah.
I like to cook a lot, cook mostly like low carb stuff because I like to eat what I cook. I don't like to not eat, so it's usually, like healthy stuff. And all the times I'll just relax, and I like to listen to music while I'm walking. I have a dog, or just sitting on the porch with my cats.
Yeah. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Right. That's all for today. If you have any suggestions for future topics or guests, or just want to say hi, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email me at teen.teen1d@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram at teen1dpodcast. If you like my podcast, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, as it really does help me out. Thanks so much for listening, and don't forget to tune into next week's episode. Have a great week. Bye.